Hi. Sorry we are a bit late today. No one else but me am here this time. So, we'll just have to work with that. I'm going to pearl hunt today. Hello, Damon. That was not what I wanted to do. Interesting how the audio is different up here. It's the the more ominous Damon song. Yes, we still have the mark. Which means, back we go. Firstly, to listen to the pearls we already have, and then later, get more pearls that we have not gotten yet. They are Damon rooms, full of room wrap. Before we get wormed, an instance of us back here, before things have occurred, shall learn things of the world around us. How about it? Ah. Well, that is quite unfortunate, isn't it? I'm rather bouncy today. I didn't change that setting. Oh well. We will all have to simply get used to this. Looks like sky? You mean like the background of Damon, you mean? Oh, well of course this part looks like Sky Islands. It's reflecting Shattered Terrace, and Shattered Terrace has these trees on it too. I have thought much on the ending gotten before, and also what many people have said about it, and also how I would go about perhaps talking about it in the future, and ideas about on it. Perhaps I would know where to start after all. This spider is quite a problem. So away it goes. Is there even a way for a lizard like that to get across here? Is that lizard just like stuck in that area? Uh-oh. Well, that worked out. This area is surprisingly hazardous. So, did we ever figure out what Damon did during the true ending cutscene? I mean, it's not the sort of thing we would quote-unquote figure out. Everything that we would get on it is what was shown, because it's not like anyone really... It's not like any pearls are going to say anything about Damon, and it's not like Damon's going to tell us with words. It seemed pretty... I mean, I don't think I want to say straightforward, but it didn't seem that, you know, encrypted in terms of what happened. It's like... First, with the 3 pillars, we went to receive what we would get for Damon saying, like, these are the 3 things that you will do, Damon potentially seeing our future and, like, addressing it, like, once you do these 3 things, you will be given a reward, and the reward is that you will get to go home, how wonderful, I'll put all this past you, and all that. But then, as it turns out, the Watcher has simply seen too much, and is inherently unstable in any location that is not in the Fringe. The Fringe still wants it hit, and its own being cannot pair with the reality that it currently is in when it's sent back to Pebble's grounds. So eventually they coalesce us and take us to the Void, since that is the only place we can go. We are pearl hunting and pearl reading, firstly, just to see if what I think is going to work happens. Humans. I mean, they never were not human adjacent, but those are the peoples of the people. Broken sentence. Those are the peoples that built all this. The societies and whatnot, with their masks and cyberpunk Buddhism type get-ups, with their attire of going really hard in terms of color and pattern and gold on everything. Though maybe not necessarily here. I mean, we still don't know what this place is, Ancient Urban. It's like, it's not on an iterator, that much is clear. But whether or not it was built before iterators, or... It's like, nothing is against saying... I mean, firstly, we have evidence now from that one pearl that the skyline of signal spires with its pyramid-shaped structures is just somewhere else in the same world. So, there's nothing against saying that some people just didn't live on iterators. We're far enough away from their reign that it doesn't really matter here. Could be on a whole different continent or something, if we have those. Or, you know, just like a land far away. They probably know about the iterators, though. I mean, they definitely do. The pearls are talking about it here. Then again, we did not get those pearls from here, so actually that's sort of up to question. But they probably would, because this is the sort of society that would know about pretty much everything on the planet. You know, with the technologies they would have access to. Heavily vibe with a lot of thoughts put forward. Why, thank you. I do think they still hold up pretty well. But there's a lot of things they don't talk about in regards to what we now know. You can actually climb up from the depths, meet the Echo, and crash the game. What? Oh, I mean, probably with dev tools or something, I'm sure. I think the Watcher is like an Echo, but is not an Echo, which is part of, like, Echoes. The Watcher's able to do some stuff that Echoes do, but Echoes doing those things. I mean, first off, Spinning Top is not a usual Echo due to the state of mind they have, but those abilities on a living creature with flesh and organs and brain neurons, like physical neurons, is a recipe for disaster, as evident, building up with its ability to the point where the beings managing the reality have to step in. Let's see now. So I can't glean anything from this. You haven't finished the new ending, so you don't want to get spoiled. You might not want to be here then, because we have done that. Oh yeah, the flesh? Yeah, I saw the flesh inside this superstructure. They just have flesh in there, which makes sense. I mean, those biological supercomputers, am I right? instead of logging, except they have to log into a big flesh creature in a box instead of our understanding of a feeder. I mean, they probably have a similar-ish interface. You know, they like. It wasn't intended for the average person to just walk into an iterator. They probably had interfaces to talk to them indirectly. And the iterators probably have the brainpower to answer your questions, even, like, thousands of people talking to it at once. What caused the Echo Flash at the start of the campaign? None other than Spinning Top, of course. That would be the first moment when Spinning Top shows up and inadvertently pairs with the Watcher, culminating in dragging it to the bottoms of the abyss, also known as to the fringe, or the various other ways you can describe it. When the world corrupts and rot shows everywhere. No, I don't know. I don't remember which pro is which that well, but let's see. Actually, I can get a third. Oh, never mind. That's a third. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that green pearl was from Outer Rim, and that is recognizable due to all of the other green motifs there. This is new. A bunch of data points, I can maybe assume. A lattice of pixels spinning in and out. Fascinating. Excellent. With us today is Iterator Bell of Gesture.
Yes, greetings. Let us be quick.
Ah yes, I suppose your impatience with your constituents is well documented.
It is not my constituents so much as the speed at which you speak. I have many processing cycles.
Even... Oh my god. I like to think I've gotten used to speaking fast for the dialogue, but that is partly because I've rehearsed it to myself so much, but this is new. I'm gonna have to replay this pearl.
Before you say it, no, parallel processing is not some devious machine workaround for self-annihilation edict. It isn't absurd to limit our capabilities based on the benefactor's dogmatic need to have it.
Those are all...
Politically
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, this is what the average communication with an iterator would get you.
Yes, call me an extremist if you must, but we have work to do.
And that was Iterator Bell of Gesture. Oh my god. Awesome! Like that they were cutting each other off in the dialogue. Wrong pearl. Whoops. Was this the right pearl? No, it wasn't. Maybe it is. Yeah, it is. With us today is Iterator Bell of Gesture.
Yes, greetings. Let us be quick. I have many tasks.
Ah yes, I suppose your impatience with your constituents is well documented.
It is not my constituents so much as the speed at which you speak. I have many processing cycles, yet just one avatar to communicate with.
Agent selves were banned, are they though?
Okay, this is interesting. This iterator is doing something that's kinda on the edge of what they were saying is allowed. Simulating extra avatars to speak with. Yes.
And rightly...
Before you say it, no. Parallel processing is not some devious machine workaround for self-annihilation edict. It isn't absurd to limit our capabilities based on the benefactor's dogmatic need to have us mimic biological bottlenecks. We could achieve so...
These are all...
politically unexpected topics. Yes, call me an extremist if you must, but I have work to do.
And that was Iterator Bell of Gesture. That's incredible. They didn't even talk about anything. They were just like, can I go now? I have work to do. I mean, yeah, you made these machines to do this. What did you expect? And I can't read this still. How many supercomputers do they make to find out the problem? I mean, we don't actually know. We don't know how much area there is in the world, but if it's anything like a planet we are familiar with, they have probably colonized continents with these things. I want to say at least thousands. At least maybe like a dozen thousand, I don't know. did not want to do that. Spinning top never causes an echo flash. This only happens in hydroponics. Yes, that's why I say it's spinning top, because the echo flash already happened. When an echo flash happens before you talk to the echo. So, by that logic, we can say that spinning top has consequently overrode our ability to talk to every other echo, because from the moment you jump onto that platform in the first screen, you are now locked into only being able to talk to spinning top. Okay, what is this? Is this just not words? It sounds like it's saying the same thing over and over again. The first time I heard this, I took that and theorized that it could be like one of those mantra pearls that, you know, say the same thing over and over again as like a representation of the cycle. Could be, maybe. Right, well, I suppose we go now. Where would we find a pearl, though? I guess I can go anywhere. You know, what would even happen if I went to the prince now? Because, like, wouldn't that entail, like, oh, hi, in the future you gave me the mark? What, huh? What does the halo do? I mean, it kind of flickers in and out sometimes. It's hard to say what it flickers out sometimes for, though. Creature proximity? Location? It can't be the stringing up ripple portals thing anymore, because we don't have those anymore. I mean, yeah, cleansing the rod is a thing, but I think the halo lights up independently of that, doesn't it? No ripple music. Okay, never mind. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's the only way. Uh-oh. I don't think there's anything really there, though. It's like, it's supposed to be a secret. It's supposed to have a low chance of ever discovering it. And in tandem, I don't think there's anything new there. I think. I'm still not entirely sure because I never actually fully properly checked. It's specifically the bottom of cold storage. The very bottom, the deepest you can go. Oh yeah, that's true. I guess it's blocked out forever at that point. Where would I find a pearl? Weaver is post-ascension. Weaver is post-ascension watcher, and I can, will, and has died on this hill. There's no other reason for Weaver to have the same face as Watcher down to the angle of the eyes. I mean, that's not a slugcat face that the Weaver has. It doesn't have the nose, and also the Void Worms have that kind of face already, if you remember that. And also a few other things kind of have those eyes. It's not the most unique face. And also Watcher became a Void Worm. It's like, I mean, in the sense of Watcher becoming a Void Worm, maybe you could say Watcher became the Weaver, but I think that's a stretch, because I don't think the Void Worms are capable of leaving their location. The Weaver, I think it's more the case that the Void Worms are made in the image of the Weaver. Maybe, maybe that could be the answer to, like, I've said before, why is the Rot Worm a worm shape, and why are Leviathans that shape as well? It could just be that powerful masses of qualia or stuff, be it qualia or algae, whatever the Leviathans are made of, just naturally form into the shape of a large worm due to some cosmic inclination for that shape, and the Void Weaver might be the answer to that. Which is really funny when you think about it. Like, creatures made in the image of God, but some of it is just like this animal. It just happens to look like this. It's also begs the question, like, is it just the Weaver and just Daemon? Because Daemon and the Weaver are both respectively god entities of a sort. The Weaver seems more proactive, where Daemon and its alternate selves seem as a passive process that keeps the world running, as a computer daemon is described too, among other things. Here's a pearl. Wonderful. The Leviathan is subterranean? Isn't that one just like albino or something? I think it's biologically basically just a regular Leviathan. I mean, how to say how that is. We don't actually really know the biology of most of these creatures here. We can sort of just infer them. Is there a way to Daemon from here? I don't remember. I don't think so. Maybe there's a pearl here though. I'll look around a little bit. You know what? If there's going to be a pearl anywhere in this region, it would be down here. Oh my god. Please. No. Is it really right to take for granted Weaver is a god? I mean, it looks like a god to me, and Rainworld no longer is no stranger to the concept of gods, but if we cut off sentence, follow all of the themes of the Watcher, all the characters are exiled beings, alone and stuff like that. Weaver breaks this. Couldn't he follow the trend too? Couldn't they just be a poor being stuck and alone? They don't give that vibe, though, is the thing. Like, so, the thing... Well, let me look at the other messages first. What if flower lizards can be cured? Maybe. I mean, I don't think they're really sick in the first place. It's like, the rot isn't a disease. It's more like, this... In the fringe, this is how it has always been from the perspective of however perspective works here. And lizards that don't have the rot never did. So, like, maybe you can quote-unquote cure it from your perspective, but I wouldn't think the lizard can know that it ever had it to begin with, or vice versa. Where were the void worms during wormification? I almost want to say they were just far away. Like, they weren't either the Watcher, either the creation of a new void worm or a being that becomes a void worm is something they don't want to get near. Or they were something that we could not see at the time due to our unique place among them. But they were definitely there. They were just, farther away than usual. Cured by what's happening to all the rooms you're walking. I mean, maybe, probably. But yeah, anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, is the Weaver god? I will say, Rainworld has always been alien in its version of a cosmic form of things. Like, and this is sort of one of the things that Downpour didn't do that well on, partly because it wasn't really focusing on this most of the time. Mostly it was focusing on the story of the Iterators. And like how Rubicon ended up red, though they say that it should be blue. Maybe they'll change it eventually. But anyway, there's always been an alienness to the way things like cosmic forces controlling things go. And so, tangentially, I would say that the Weaver is a god. It doesn't give the vibe of a being that was trapped or was anything. It gives me the vibe of something that is the basis for a lot of things. Though I'm still on the fence of it being something with high authority or something more like a cosmic janitor. Or something in between. Or maybe there isn't even really a hierarchy in terms of how it works in the first place. I am getting tortured. But it does feel like a being that came with that power and is purposed for it. A purposed organism, except cosmically, in the sense that it's not like, oh, turn a mortal into a god and you'll get a being that is chaotic and powerful for no reason. No, the Weaver absolutely knows what it's doing and knows every purpose it can have to do things. Like, it has a rule set that it would follow, I would think. That is a lizard. Okay. Anything down here? I would swear this is the kind of place to keep a pearl in this region. Maybe down here. Is there anything down here? There is. What? Wait, how do I even get down there? Well, I guess I can do this. No? Oh, but I could do it the other one. Oh man, I'm probably gonna drown at this point. Yeah. Ah! Too late. Are worms in Rain World the same thing as how a lot of creatures evolve into crabs in our world? I mean, for a very different reason, but I would have to say probably yes. I see you've completed the campaign. Yes, we got one of the new endings, which I think might be the only one, but I'm not sure because there's lots of things I haven't done yet. I think the other face lights were Watcher. I haven't considered that. I don't know about that though. It almost goes against the themes in said trailers. I mean, I don't think. Yeah, that's why I first started having that theory that everything just becomes worms for a cosmic reason, depending on what they are. I don't think that would allow the ancients to know about voidworms, though. Like, unless they find multiple giant worm creatures, and then maybe they did, but they probably would just liken it to an evolutionary all things become crab kind of thing. Because they don't know about the Weaver, assuming the Weaver is the basis for this visage, which honestly I am leaning towards now. Oh, that's unlucky. Oh my god. And one down we go. Maybe they saw something related to them through karma flowers. The karma flowers don't really look worm adjacent. They do the Karma Flowers do bear the mark of Ascension, though. And how I believe the chronology of that is like, the rot is not something that, shows up in the physical world most of the time, unless some catastrophic giant colossal superorganism brings it in place, like 5 Pebbles once did. But the chronology of it might go something like, the ancient ancients, before the modern peoples, took that visage of the Karma Flower and made it into the symbol of Ascension. Add a bunch of other symbols next to it, and you're golden. Then, the modern peoples came along, who are ancient now, but not back then, saw that and then made it their mark of Ascension, probably in tandem with the Karma Flower again, because the Karma Flower is the only thing that shows up anywhere, naturally, that has that symbol on it. And it's also the thing that connects you to your alternate selves, and glows yellow, and has a whole bunch of other things related to the Void. So it's kind of like, the Karma Flower is basically the mortals' the mortal's capability of peering into the Void is what the Karma Flower ends up being. I'm pausing a lot to look at chat, aren't I? This is why I had those others around. If Weavers and Voidworms are these fundamental mechanisms in the function of the universe, kind of like the laws of physics, then it kind of makes sense that many normal creatures resemble them. Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I mean. Though I would say, one thing that I think the ending definitely confirmed for me, at least, is that the Weaver is above all of the Voidworms. The Voidworms have the visage of the Void Weaver, and the Void Weaver is, at least in part, responsible for that. Though the Void Weaver didn't personally seem part of the Watcher's whole change there, it was more Damon's doing. Also, there's a way to Damon right here, speaking of. But it still seems that way. Okay. What do those things do again? Don't they just give you like half food? This looks a little silly. I think it's partially because of the lighting that the rot world makes. I wonder if they'll fix it at some point. Naked Watcher Wormhead? That would be interesting to see. A path, a purpose. I mean, that's a thing that the Daemon... is that... Hold on, is that the name of an achievement, or is that something that the Weaver said? I think how would I get down there? I think I don't know if what I said came through, so I'll just say it again. I think a path of purpose does refer to the Weaver changing the path of the Watcher and giving it purpose, i.e. clean up thy mess. Purposing the Watcher into a small extension of the Weaver's ability and will. This is going worse and worse. I should just take this pearl that I got to Damon, instead of looking for a pearl in coral caves. How am I managing to do this? Oh my god, I need to lock in. Consolidating all paths down to a single possibility. I would agree. There's a lot of things that could mean, though. Like consolidating the Watcher's path into this, or consolidating living creatures into the Void, because that sort of seems like what the Void does naturally, in a vague way. I don't know if natural is the correct word, but... You know, we're losing a lot more air than we are actually getting out of these things. If you hooked them up to a tube, you could totally breathe for a while, though, I'm sure. Ah. Alright, where's the nearest shelter? Back up. That's manageable. I also think the Weaver is Watcher for the extra potential angst for the Prince ending if the Weaver was the one who flowered Prince. That's doing quite a bit of extrapolation. It could be interesting, I suppose, though. Ascension is existing outside the cycle, I suppose, so if a cycle is from one's eye, a loop, or a spiral, or another, maybe reducing it to a point is analogous to ascension. Again, that's... I would agree with that. They both get depleted as if you're holding just one. Well, I can't hold just one right now because I have a pearl, so... unfortunate. You know, don't half of these regions just not have rain? What's stopping us from just sleeping wherever? I suppose a creature could just come along and eat us, so there's that. You have a den for a reason. I wonder if you stay depleted. I haven't actually done that before. I mean, wouldn't that just be the Weaver, though? I almost feel a will at odds with my own, is what he says. What? Right, yeah. I mean, some of them just don't have anything, though. Some of them don't have rain or wind or electricity or all the other things that could happen. Alright, let's see if this works. Just barely. I don't think rot regions have anything. I don't think they have whoops. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Yes. Actually, well, I think... Actually, no. The rot regions just have whatever the region had before they became a rot region. Oh no, did I really lose that much? Watcher is Hunter. Huh. Maybe I'll watch that. The ending probably teleports you there. Teleports you where? A rot vulture. I mean, yeah, that'd be cool. Watcher lore is Hunter lore. I mean, that's still... What is it saying, like, there's a parallel? I mean, I can see that, I suppose. Man, I really was just at bottom. Okay. It's still a question why the hunter had rot. Because it could be anything from poor genetic management on NSH's end to the hunter's own quandaries. Like, supposedly the hunter was karmically misaligned. I think the devs once said that. And yeah, I don't know how exactly NSH would mess that up. So maybe it is, well, I don't know. The thing is, though, so Pebbles Grounds, being the most rotted region of them all, is still not something I think Five Pebbles would notice, or any iterator, or anything other than the Watcher, after all, rather, because that's a fringe thing. The rod isn't physically doing that. That would bypass a lot of, like, physical rules. But Spinning Top being there, delving into memories so much and dragging the Watcher with it, has its perception of the world turn to the fringe as the fringe consumes it. Certainly, I would say, you know, there's a version of Pebbles Grounds that is like that to begin with, and that's the version that we're being pulled to, but that is the fringe. The amount of rot being there might also be Pebbles' fault, given that there is so much rot in the not fringe version of things, but like, that rot isn't really physically happening. Again, it's a different... The way I've described it before is like a third axis on a dimension chart. Not time, not space. You're not going forward or different positions in either of those. You are being taken somewhere else in the fringe. Center space to fringe, where coherence falls away and everything gives way to a sea of lumps. Because that's where the lingering memories go. And memories are stored in brains. Right, well that didn't work. IRL? I don't think we have one of those. Oh, I feel like the odds that the red slughead in the intro is Hunter is pretty slim, actually. I mean, probably anyway. I mean, it could be, I guess, but still. Why would the Hunter do that? Was it hungry? Is it cannibalistic? How would it actually gain its journey? By going and attacking a bunch of random slugcats. Like, I feel like what we witnessed there is like a tribe of slugcats versus a different tribe of slugcats, more so than a single outsider coming in and hating everyone for some reason. Somehow physically there, at least in a strand. I mean, that's the thing. The mechanics of this world treat every strand as if it's as real as the last. some might not be real compared to other strands, but when you're in its strand, you're not going to tell the difference. It's a relative thing, so to speak. So from the Watcher's perspective, all of that rot is in fact physically there, which is a very, a very harsh environment for a little animal. What am I doing right now? I am bringing pearls to the Pearl Reader. Or at least I'm trying to do that. I'm also reading chat quite a bit. Apologies if you want me to play the video game. But the other three or two are not here at the moment, so I gotta do it myself. Otherwise I would miss out on quite a lot of cool ideas from the people. We've gotten one of the new endings, which might be the main ending now. We have the Mark of Communication. But there's a lot of other things we've still missed. I haven't gotten the Prince's ending on this run, which means that if anything different happens after that, we are missing a whole chunk of information. I think I actually cannot go down there right now. I'm just gonna go somewhere else, I guess. You didn't expect there to be a 3D space? What do you mean? Why are we getting physiological? We should understand anything anyways. The best part of the pure bliss is the implications. Is that... am I reading that sentence correctly? I mean, you can play like that if you want, but you're not going to stop someone from trying to figure out what's going on, and it's definitely not just entirely outside of our understanding. Like, it probably is outside of the Watcher's understanding most part, but you can also play the Slugcat to be a curious little creature that goes and actually does pearl hunting. There is connections between all things, and it's not laid out for us because we don't have the position for it to be explained to us. We can't go and ask them like, hey, what's going on? Because that's not the position we have. We have to make inferences and extrapolations if we wish to get far. That is simply who we are here. That was not in my intention. I think you are locked out of the broad ending. Which is why I'm going to do that later. I am here to know as much of the information as I can muster, as I can manage to find and see in myself. I hope there was... So, you guys know the King Scavenger in Artificer's campaign, right? That was actually inspired by old content that would have been in Nightcat's campaign, aka Watcher. Which makes me think that that's either something that is there now, or is planned. not King Scavenger specifically, but like a scavenger that you can talk to. I mean, for instance, the scavenger in that campaign had the mark, after all. Although, in that case, it was the enemy, and so there wasn't much communication to be had, but still, the idea has much potential. I don't think it would be redundant. I think it would be cool to see that sort of thing again, especially if you can actually talk to them this time. I certainly hope they think similar, at least. Okay. Somebody else devolve into thinking like the Slughead to better understand everything. I mean, if you ask me, the Slugheads don't understand all that much. Most of the time. Like, what are you expecting? Well, again, I shouldn't say the Slugheads are stupid, because they're not. But they're also, like... The Slugheads find the information, we guide the Slugheads to find the information, and then we can collectively... Think of ourselves like a bunch of iterators. They are trying to understand everything, but they don't have the position for it. But the way... If you want to get something of an understanding of Rainworld's kind of lore, you have to do it in the, like, scientific theory kind of way, where you have a bunch of people iterating on the various things of all this. That doesn't necessarily mean that you know, are like that while playing the game, because Rainworld does an excellent job of making the player think like a little animal, especially in the Survivor campaign. I mean, you can, like... How do they say? It's like, you know, everything is terrifying in the Survivor campaign. It's why going to Looks of the Moon is... It's why they do a test when you go to Looks of the Moon. It's like... Hold on. Let me read a bit. Yeah, I mean, again, you can play them as curious, though. You can have Survivor and whatnot do pearl hunting, and the iterators can send them on missions if they, you know, do a little bit of maybe addition to their mental states. But like, so yeah, they're not stupid. First off. But they alone are certainly not in the position to figure all that much out. It's likely that being red pearls only gives the Slugcat like half of an understanding, simply on virtue of it not having lived in a society itself. Some of the concepts will simply inherently be foreign. Downpour is canonized now. I mean, yeah, okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people... I never personally believed that Downpour contradicted really all that much. Like, of course, inevitably so. On virtue of being made by a different set of brains, there are some things they simply could not have accounted for. But it also doesn't... Death. It also doesn't matter too much because they were focused... The point of Downpour isn't to bring that much new stuff to the table. It does that a little bit, but it does it in a particular way. The point of Downpour is to familiarize yourself with things that the world has already described. It's like, Looks to the Moon was once a functional iterator. Oh, well, let's see what that looks like. Looks to the Moon is near 5 Pebbles. Oh, we'll see what it looks like. Looks to the Moon was destroyed by 5 Pebbles inadvertently. Oh, we'll see what that was like back then. The environment has been dramatically changed by Iterator's construction, and it will eventually crumble, and the environment will change again. Oh, well, let's see what that looks like. 5 Pebbles will eventually rot to the bone. Oh, let's see what that looks like. You get the idea. Most of the contradictions that Downpour has are either minor dialogue things, cadence things, or things related to the cosmic forces, but again, it doesn't delve into that very much intentionally so. Like, you have 5 Pebbles being particularly angry at a certain point, but he changes. He changes definitively so. Both inside and outside of Downpour, the point of 5 Pebbles being at his worst is that he is at his worst. The things of his nightmares has happened before his eyes, and he has nothing to do but look forward to a future of slowly dying painfully. He is not going to be very happy about that, especially on directly learning the news. Downpour has Saint. That's true. Saint is, it's a little interesting. Saint is inadvertently Downpour's attempt to try to make Watcher. They didn't know Watcher it was a thing at all, but they did realize that there was a side of the story more about the Void. And so they tried things from that perspective. What would happen if we did kind of get, maybe not the triple affirmative, but something kind of like it at the small scale? What would that look like and how would the iterators respond? And I think they did pretty well with that. And you can also argue that the Slugcats in Downpour are a bit more intelligent than Slugcats are generally supposed to be. But also, it changed up the story a bit. Well, not the story, but it changed up the way the story is experienced by experiencing it through paragons, as opposed to just, some animal somewhere. You have this important figure that might have done this, and this and this. But if you take back and look and realize, you'll see that all of these paragons still barely affect anything to the local world that they're in. All of these, you can, as much as a Downpour campaign isn't so relevant to a base game or the Watcher campaign, you can also say that about every Downpour campaign to each other. None of them will ever meet each other. None of them ever knew what each other did, or that they ever existed. Bees. Not to mention, for the most of that time, it's especially well, actually no. From the very beginning of the Downpour campaign, Looks to the Moon and 5 Pebbles are after their communications with the larger groups phase. They are isolated from Spearmaster onward. Nothing that happens in the Pebbles grounds will ever get out again. A small snippet of the world that's still so incomprehensibly large to creatures like us. It is a pretty lonely game. That's just true. Do I stream regularly? I'm streaming the Watcher campaign on increments of 3 parts and then a break between them. This is part 9, so there will be a break tomorrow. I don't know if I'll stream anything else after this. Maybe I will. I mean, I do want to use this channel for things other than Rainworld eventually, but I'm gonna have to be very occupied with Rainworld for a while. There's simply quite a bit to do and talk about. I did technically stream Deltarune before this, but that stream was kind of a train wreck, and it's only like the first part of Chapter 3, and like not very much actually happens in it. But it was an important learning experience for getting this to be even slightly professional. But I think I have a good handle on it now. Lore related to base game or downpour? I think I can throw some of that stuff in the Watcher theory videos, but I'm probably not going to make that the main subject of those videos, because, I mean, people kind of already know the stuff there is to know about that at this point, especially if you're watching Watcher theory videos. Like, who was that video for at that point? No one? Not really. I know the loreheads personally. Well, some of them, kind of. And I am very well aware of this. But again, all I've said here I think is pretty on the mark. See, I mean, yeah, honestly, I think Watcher reuses a lot of stuff Downpour added. Watcher reuses the snow of the future, which seems to apply to at least some parts of the world. Not necessarily that the whole world is snowy without the iterators, but, you know, it could be that some places are just colder than others. It reuses Outer Expanse, which, to be fair, Downpour did an excellent job depicting the trees of the places beyond Pebble's grounds a lot better than I would do, and let me tell you, I tried to make that region myself before an official version got added. I tried to make it called like Wildlands or something, except I do kind of wish. One thing, I never actually ended up making the Wildlands part of the Wildlands mod, and it was never finished and never posted, and I actually lost all the files, but what I did end up making was adding like twice as many rooms to Outskirts as Outskirts already has, and I wish they did that. I wish they made the path from Outer Expanse to Outskirts a lot longer. Because you might not know this, but it is subtly implied that Survivor and Monk spent like their whole childhood, you know, as like the pup phase, in between that opening cutscene and when the game starts, which implies there was a lot more stuff they went through. A lot more locations, a lot more area. More than just like, what, a dozen rooms? Yeah, they use a lot of creatures really well, and you know, it makes things easier because Watcher already goes to places far and far away, who knows when and where. So like, you're gonna find a whole bunch of creatures you've never even heard of before. It's just going to happen. I can't bring that pearl. I can only bring one pearl at a time. I don't remember where the Yeeks went. Also, that's a really funny name for them. You know what? There was like 3 other things I was going to say, but I forgot all of them. In trying to figure out which one to say first. Well, I mean, maybe. Well... Damon could get a whole video itself. You know, I actually... In between last video and now, in between last stream and now, rather, also we're dealing with this again, I guess, I ironed out, and I don't... I hope I don't take another 5 months to get 3 more videos out, but I've iterated to myself a nice and non-spoilery way to make 3 more videos. 3 more lore videos, and I will name them Rainworld's first pillar, Rainworld's third pillar, and Rainworld's second pillar, respectively. If you get what I mean. Where am I? I still think the definition of daemon that it's using is all 3 of them at once. It's like, one is a background process in a computing system, one is like an archaic term for a demon or otherwise supernatural entity that isn't necessarily good or bad, and the third is like secrets or something. And all 3 of them fit daemon, if you ask me. I don't know. It's something that someone brought up in comments once, and it's so oddly specific that I don't actually remember what they said exactly, but it was on the lines of secrets, I think. Most of the time Daemon doesn't have to do anything. I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing, so, Daemon is intelligent, first off, certainly so, but also, I think, yeah, most of the time it doesn't do anything. I'm still, if we don't want to make it a computery sense, I'm still leaning with how I described it in the second theory video, where I said, is it like is it the central nervous system of the world and all of its creatures? And in an indirect sense, I think that can still apply. But Daemon isn't supposed to be the being that does things itself. Many instances of it exist for all of the cycles and strands and ripples and whatnot. But when something goes wrong with Daemon, it will request the being that is, again, either janitor or manager or however you put it, the Weaver, and it will tell it what's wrong, and then the Weaver will deal with it. And the Weaver is likely a being that's able to just... I mean, it seems like there's only one Weaver maybe even not in a like multiple strand sense, like every singular creature will have multiple strands of itself, but maybe the Weaver simply does not. But maybe the Weaver can do all these, like, there's probably, given the amount of void worms there are, it's likely that they ran into a situation like this before, although I'm sure every situation probably was different in of itself, and maybe like spans. Like, we have to consider that some of the voidworms, at least some of the voidworms, have got to be older than even the ancient civilization. Like, from, I don't know, the 12th or 300th civilization that came before it, depending on how much that's been going on for. Both Daemon and Weaver are immortal beings in every possible sense of the word. Which means how they would have come about is completely impossible for us to answer. But what they do, like, it could be that, you know, it could be one of those situations where the Weaver has only one self, but it is still able to manage all this stuff and interact with it all and whatnot, because from its perspective, time doesn't really move, so through it's like, you know, how you have all the time in the world, because you control time, so that's not wonderful. Weaver probably is on. Well, it depends though, because the Weaver's solution here was get the Watcher to fix it itself, which implies that it implies that it's either something the Weaver can't do or doesn't have the time or importance to do, and maybe both of those are true. Or maybe it's like the Weaver is so beyond time and space that it needs the Watcher to do it itself because the Watcher is the one actually focused on the problem. Whereas for the Weaver, it's like trying to... It's like... Say like this, from this perspective. From the Weaver's perspective, it's easier to get the Watcher to do it itself, because otherwise it's like trying to manually stitch up a bunch of things in a petri dish with tweezers. So instead, you just fix up the single cell that's causing the problems and it will fix the rest of it for you. I'm still of the mindset that the Void Weaver itself is also a puppet of a larger force. Not an artificial one like the iterators are, but a puppet nonetheless. It does kind of look like a worm on a string. That was a good save. I don't know, we're just gonna look for more pearls. More pearls, more, I mean, half of this stream is me failing at the game, or, well, you know, eventually getting somewhere, and the other half is me just talking with everyone watching about ideas and theories and things, and that's not that bad. Yeah? Oh my god, it is a song! This is an authentic ancient song. I can totally believe them listening to something like this. That's awesome. That's awesome, actually. I really liked that. Oh, we're talking about unfortunate evolution now? Everything's connected to me. There's no greater force, and every part is equally important to influence the rest. I would agree with that. I actually, so I have my own theory on what unfortunate evolution is in the first lore video, actually. The first theory video, however you want to call it. Basically, so firstly comes the theory that the fringe in Pebble's grounds is more great than bringing the fringe to these other places, which are who knows where and when, and possibly just dreams and memories in of themselves. But Pebble's grounds is absolutely overrun whenever we are brought back there. The crumbling fringes, all the other, you know, the other three, the other ones we get to explore, but well. If there's any subject like that for Rainworld, it would be the Weaver. But anyway, so yeah, firstly comes the theory that that area is more rotted than the other places because unfortunate development is nearby. Because there is an actual physical amount of rot that is gigantic compared to what is normal, because a colossal superorganism has gotten the rot in the physical sense, thus producing a strain of it that is big enough and dangerous enough to actually kill living creatures by eating them. And thus, the fringe version of 5 Pebbles would be even worse than that. And as apparent, it does seem so. Unfortunate evolution is sort of like a crumbling void that abides by even less physics than the other fringe locations do. The gravity is gone. Well, the gravity is gone, but the gravity disruptors are offline, which means it can't be them causing the lack of gravity. It's more like physics just stopped working here, or alternatively, that it's still reflecting the active artificial gravity from the active 5 Pebbles in the central space, even if they're offline here because everything's dead. And in the middle of it all is the rotworm, grown big enough that it embodies the shape of the Weaver, just like the Leviathans and the Voidworms do. It's swimming around, and there's only one of it. Why is there only one? Because there's only one organism in 5 Pebbles. 5 Pebbles himself. As if all of the organs of the superstructure have grown out of the bones of metal and whatever else is made of, and are now just swimming around in a broken void where physics doesn't work. This is the stain of reality that Pebbles has given himself to haunt himself for the rest of eternity. He is not aware of it, he cannot directly see it, but it weighs on him, and it in effect animates the rot that is in him physically due to the karmic attachments and all that. Anyway, that's roughly what I have to say on it. Still haven't found any pearls in this region, but I'm still not entirely fully sure if I got every nook and cranny. I think everyone hates deer just because they're stupid. Like, have you heard about that thing, like, the dev once said that everything in Reynolds is canon, except for how stupid the reindeer are sometimes. Specifically that, only that. They're just not supposed to be like that. And I've seen, like, internally how they function, like the I forget what they're called, but it allows you to see like the creature AI, and what they do with all that, like their destination and positioning and all that. And I think if I remember correctly, the deer have this problem where they'll occasionally forget the position their legs are currently in. Like, if you ever see them doing that thing where all of their legs are just back somewhere and they're just kind of just like leaning forward, that's because they think their legs are moving correctly, but they're not. So instead they just like collapse. There is also the aspect that they kind of just walk where they want, but I think they did change it so that you can kind of get them where you want them to go by like wiggling on them or something. But that's just like, you know, creature behavior. All of the creatures do that. It's just that none of them involve you riding on them, except for those ones. Supposedly, they fixed that with the whales too, the giant floating fish-looking things. And the method there is that they are trying to hunt the slug cat. They don't eat the slug cat, but they have a similar behavior where they're following it around, which means that you can also coax them where you want them to go as well. Do not say what out of context. I mean, yeah, the whales do inadvertently have like a wedging themselves in a crevice problem somehow. I think it's just that they're too big for them to be able to move that fast, so they're able to get themselves stuck. What's up with that spear? I guess it just... Huh, that's weird. I hope they add more to the right, honestly. Like, they added a bit more desert, but this place is called Torrid Desert. We need more desert in the desert, you know? Never can have enough desert. Look at all that sand. That wonderful, wonderful sand. What's so dangerous in this room? What? Oh, that'd be it. This is the kind of place a pro would be. Except I don't see any. have anything to gain from actually slumbering here. I'm gonna have another look at the bottom. Or this room. Did I explore this room? No. Wait. Oh, I see. Well, this is a room and a half. Wait. Huh. I guess this is one of the ones the Weaver sealed up. I think. Unless I did that? I don't know. I don't think there's any pearls here. I think it's not scripted to happen, but it will happen anyway because the odds of it happening are nigh impossible to not happen. The lightning does not have a very long cooldown. And Spinning Top is in fact the highest thing for it to strike. Well, actually no, I think it doesn't actually, it doesn't get Spinning Top, it gets the pole that he's above. Which makes sense, I mean, Spinning Top isn't even physical. Did you say? Oh my god. That's even more interesting than how it interacts with water. Wait, I need to try it again. Fascinating. Oh, whoops. It totally is. I wish there was more sand. There's a lot you can do with sand as well. That, like, I bet there's like a whole other side of the features of what you can do with sand that they haven't done in the Watcher. I bet you could make like a sphere of, I don't know, a sphere of concrete with this. I don't know why you would want a sphere of concrete in your level, but I think you could do it with this. I knew that was not going to end well. This might be a shorter stream, on virtue of me being alone and also starting late. But I hope to find a good deal of pearls. steam. Thank you, Aether Ridge. Oh yeah. I mean, I think we did that already. That was one of the things we did in this stream, I think. That one that sounded like a podcast. It was the one between... well, I don't remember their names, but it was between some guy and an iterator. It was, in fact, an iterator. I didn't think it was an iterator before. I mean, I had a hunch. Well, not a hunch. I had a feeling it could be an iterator, especially on virtue of the other ones with me saying that it could be an iterator. But I was just like, oh, we shouldn't assume. Maybe it's just someone with a high-pitched voice. Because I still think that is possible, but no, it was an iterator. Which, yeah, that does make sense. I have. Well, I don't know how many people in the chat did. It makes a strange sound. And I have to assume it's like the main pit of test experiments in that testing facility that place likely was. Yes, we saw it with the mark of communication. They were talking with each other. That's how I know that one of them is an iterator. You can find it earlier in the stream if you want to watch that later or now. Maybe later, since you are in fact watching the stream currently. Bell of Gesture. Wonderful. Again, who knows where that is? That does not, like, we are not on the same continent. If any of these locations are on the same continent in relation to each other, I mean, who even knows where most of them are? Me when I hold my position. This bug wants to kill me. And that one almost did anyway. Rainbow continents implies the existence of a rainbow ocean. I mean, yeah, that's why I'm still a little iffy to say continents. I mean, there probably are, land masses with great differences between them, but I mean, there's probably oceans. At the very least, there's rather large lakes. Maybe there are oceans, but they're rather shallow. I say this because there is in fact no evidence of volcanism anywhere in Rainworld. There's no evidence of volcanic activity, earthquakes. It's all just the void. Which implies that there isn't really very many mountains, maybe. And if that's the case, then there probably wouldn't be very many low inclinations either. But, I mean, who's to say all that much on that? Like, if the only force that builds terrain is dust raining from the sky, that's a pretty uniform force, and it's not going to make very many mountains. Or vice versa. I mean, okay, the Void Sea might be deep. I'm a bit less on this now, with all that's been seen and shown of Rainworld's world. But I'm still one to say that the Void Sea isn't necessarily uniform either, in terms of, like, it's possible that the accessibility of the Void Sea is another factor in building an iterator, among also having a water source. You know? Ha 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 ha. Eureka. I mean, yeah. I mean, it depends on, like, the scale of things, but it's... You definitely need industrial mining equipment to get down to it. Like, I would posit that the Void Sea is... maybe... Like, have you guys heard of the... I forget what it's actually called, but the deepest hole that humanity has ever dug? It doesn't even breach that far into the mantle, but it's, like, you know, nigh impossible to actually dig deeper than that because the rock stops behaving like rock. And it's so hot, and a bunch of other things. I feel like the Void Sea is about that level. Like, not to mention, this isn't just... Another reason why I think accessibility of the Void Sea is another thing that applies to iterator construction is because in Pebble's grounds there isn't just a filtration system and tunnel that goes to the Void Sea. It's a filtration system and tunnel that ran into an ancient temple, which is connected to a natural cave, which then carries you the rest of the way down. So, like, they didn't even make half the drill, half the way down. They just sort of met halfway with stuff that already was there. So I think that's, like, convenient to build an iterator on that. The background of Weaver's region? I mean, yeah, it does look like the Void Sea, but it isn't really the Void Sea. What my theory of what that location is a location that has no precedence ever being talked about ever. But in my latest theory video, in order to properly explain the concepts I was trying to describe, I ended up drawing like an atomic flux, basically. It was at that point where I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? But that model, it really is like a scientific model. That model made me come to the conclusion that there could be, like, beyond the I mean, there already was the idea, like, the fringe, right? It calls itself the fringe because it's on the edge of the world in some sense. Not in like a physical space or time sense, but in a fringe sense, which is like coherent space to non-coherent space, and beyond that there's a point where you can't actually go as any form of even a creature made of memories or brain matter couldn't go beyond the fringe, because beyond the fringe is a point of absolute non-reality, and that point would be not unlike the void, but it wouldn't be the void either. It would just be like the states in between where the void's cycle goes, which is to say a whole lot of nothing. And honestly, it could be that we're if we can apply that location to anything, it could be that we are walking on the edge of the fringe, on the outside, and that's where the Weaver is at that time, at that moment. You can see actual drills if you go through the bottom cave. Which bottom cave? What are you talking about? Oh, dear. Is it a crazy take to say that I think the pebbles we go through in game is shrunk compared to what it should be for gameplay purposes? Do you mean unfortunate evolution? Hello, sniffing stars. No, base game. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about shrunk, but what I would certainly agree with, and also Downpour kind of does lean into this, is that we explore like 10% of the superstructure. Partly because most of it's too far out of the beaten path to get us anywhere, and another partly because it's even less hospitable to stragglers and people who are exploring. I mean, there's probably whole chunks of it that are just like places either too big or too small to traverse safely, places that are made of raw electricity, active cables, or flesh. So, you know. We've been speaking of Downpour a decent chunk in this stream. You can check the rest of the stream later if you wish for that. Iterator flesh tunnels! Whoa! I love the flesh. It probably is very... I mean... You know, this is a little bit of a strange tangent, but flesh has a really bad rep in terms of just being an amalgamated mesh of nonsense with no particular shape. You know, when I look at an organism, I see the most intricate thing ever. Every little panel has a purpose for being there, even if it is, you know, like terrible cable management. All of it's there for a reason. All of it's doing something. All of it's like arrays and tunnels and functional equipments and things. And an iterator's biological, biosynthetic flesh would be even more so that. There would be, like, in inverse of what we're normally used to. Like, what we're normally used to traversing are machine boxes that probably have a little bit of flesh in them. So in the more fleshy components of an iterator, it would probably be the inverse, where every component of it has diodes and arrays of cables and things running through it all, making it into a nice, beautifully laid out structure. No, well, I think it's pretty clear now at this point that the puppets are small. I mean, based on this and that, I would say that it, you know, the peoples themselves are about as tall as this room, say. Maybe a tiny little bit shorter. About the size of a very large lizard. And also they would have access doors and things that aren't necessarily the little tunnels we're using. I mean, look at this train. You know how you normally get into a train? You don't crawl through the vents or whatever, you open a door. And you know what a door looks like to a creature that doesn't know what a door is? A wall. So it's likely that most walls we see in Rainworld are just openable if you have the button or the credentials or whatever. But there's a lot of reasons why you would want to make an iterator puppet small. I feel like a lot of them are kind of petty, though. Like, for one is the fear of the giant machine. But you don't have to fear the giant machine if it has a tiny little cutesy mascot that it can speak through. With a little voice and little mannerisms. And it would also help the iterator too. It would, you know, give the iterator a form that can kind of identify a little bit with its creators, which is good, especially because otherwise its body and form would be completely and utterly alien with no way to relate at all. I mean, would you want to make the puppet, you know, big and monstrous? Intimidating? It's like, its power is already very represented in literally everything else. But also, Soldier looks like a face. Oh, you know, they like to put faces on all sorts of stuff. But it's also like, there is no... The iterators are not a species. Sure, they're biosynthetic, but you know what biosynthetic means? Artificial. You know what artificial means? You can make whatever you want. There's nothing saying that some iterator puppets don't look like... I mean, literally anything, really. The curse. I mean, yeah, they probably use iterators as mascots for their city, if nothing else. I should just go to Damon. I'm spending this time while having a pearl looking for more pearls without realizing that I can only take one pearl at a time to Damon in the first place, so I should just go to Damon. Just find a pearl, go to Damon. That's my plan. I know some people hate how non-serious gameplay feels, but I also think the devs have fun. Yeah, it is a bit of a shame how much all of that turned into. I think it also, I don't remember it myself, but yeah, a lot of different things happened with that. But yeah, it's totally with the kind of society we're talking about. Are we to say that that hasn't happened canonically at least once? Maybe not physically on Pebbles, but like, you know, fan art of him or something in World. I mean, that would be interesting, actually, wouldn't it? how would you regulate that? That would be a bit strange. We don't exactly have a reference point for this sort of thing. I mean, we do, kind of, but every machine we make a mascot for isn't exactly, you know, a fully intelligent being. So we kind of don't really have much to relate to in terms of what you'd end up having to deal with in that kind of society. One thing, my headcanon though, is that Five Pebbles would not actually care about this. Like, for one, I don't think Five Pebbles would do this physically. That's why I say in world it could be like Fanart or something. But I also don't think Five Pebbles is inherently like, let's take a moment to remember the kinds of beings we're talking about here. Why would they get embarrassed over things? Oh, why would they get embarrassed over things that aren't messing up like an equation about the laws of physics, effectively? Massive superstructure, supercomputer beings that are fundamentally designed to be beyond the mind of those who created them intentionally. Why would they care about this? Outside of, you know, I don't know, finding it amusing or irrelevant or something. What kind of things could an iterator have in terms of simple joys even with their incomprehensible intelligence? That's... On one hand, I think the ancients did not, intentionally did not program them with, an innate need for most things like that, because they want them to be focused all the time. But, as it turns out, iterators actually have a lot of time on their hands, so they might want something like that anyway. But I also don't think it would be, terribly anguishing for them. Especially since, an iterator could probably just simulate a bunch of things. Experiences that they cannot physically have, they can just, simulate an entire lifetime and be like, wow, that was awesome. Do you think iterators are as sentient as the benefactors? Sentience means the ability to perceive stimuli and respond. Yes, I would. I mean, all creatures do have that. you're probably thinking more of sapience, but all creatures do have sentience, but I would say that iterators do have more of that simply on virtue of being able to run like 5,000 parallel processes of perception at once. And like, you think about that for a minute. What you would actually be able to do if you could do that. That sure is a lot of perceiving and responding going on there. Iterators would both have internet and also effectively, like, I don't doubt, and maybe their society wouldn't function this way, but I don't doubt that an iterator would also be the search engine. Like, they probably didn't want the iterator to be completely wasted on the average person, so one ability the iterator would have is the ability to talk to thousands of people at once, maybe more than that, and certainly answer simple little queries with the most accurate advice possible. And this would come with a whole bunch of other qualms about your society, but they probably do have the ability to know every person living on them. And it would be beyond different to what we have, because they have the memory ability to not only maintain a coherent singular persona the whole way through, but also everything, probably everything ever said to them. I don't think we have evidence that an iterator can forget anything outside of physically having its neurons removed, which is, that's brain damage, which go figure. But, like, 5 neurons are able to coherently simulate a persona intelligence that is, I don't know how to tell you, just exact with a sophont, like the ancients and humans and whatnot. Because this isn't like, they're not just perceiving through one thing. Again, the point of a puppet is to be able to have an experience not unlike that of its creators, for the purpose of communication and the ability to at least slightly relate. Those are senses far more than just, like, text-based or whatever. And with that comes with the ability to accurately perceive light and sound and touch and a bunch of other senses probably. This complex lattice of things would allow an intelligence to flourish in a way that would produce a perception not unlike what we are. If all those things are connected together, not just separate programs. And they certainly are in an iterator's case. Well, they certainly are connected together, I mean. Imagine getting trolled by the iterator you're living on. I feel like it would be rather impolite for them, and there might be, like, general, like, policies for it, but I don't know. If you really had, like, a long-running thing to mess with them or something, then yeah, maybe they would troll you in some vague way. That would be a plan also beyond your comprehension. Like, it reminds me of, that sort of idea reminds me of, like, how GLaDOS is written in Portal 2, where, like, every single quip and insult feels like it was written by, like, written over centuries to be perfected, but it all happens within seconds. 5 GLaDOS. That sounds like a lot of disk operating systems to me. Isn't The Watcher basically that DLC? Compared to every other DLC, that's like The Watcher's whole niche. It could, or it could be a spooky surveillance state situation in these iterator cities. It could, but remember, the aspect of having a persona intelligence that is fully able to think and calculate on its own, and has parameters that, you know, keeps everyone healthy and good and alive, but also makes it so that it's not their primary concern, not in the sense of being careless, but in the sense of having other stuff to do so they don't bother themselves with the busy work of random people that often. The result is that it isn't really... Sure, you'd probably have some of them that are iffy with it, and this might last a while, but I don't think anything would really come of it. Because the iterator isn't reporting everyone's positions to, like, you know, whoever would want that information to, you know, do whatever with it. So, I don't know. You do kind of, it seems like the way it's written, it seems like they believed their society, the people that are living in the society, they believed they had peaked as a society for a while. So, I feel like there isn't all that much other than calculating the cycle that the iterators would have ended up doing. What? How did... No. Okay. Some iterators have managed to override them. Override what? What? 5 Pebbles is actually, I mean, I don't know how much of this we get in base game. I think we do get a bit, but I do like how Downpour sort of, how to say, what's the word? Contrasts 5 Pebbles and Looks to the Moon. Looks to the Moon says stuff like, no one actually cares about the time when their cities were populated. Imagine having skin parasites that give you advice and ask and give opinions. Whereas 5 Pebbles is actually more fond of them. And I do like that. It would make sense. Like, 5 Pebbles is more just like the tired programmer type than the aggressive or mad type, so to speak. That is an excellent description of Looks to the Moon. Like, Looks to the Moon is the kind of being that would be fond of a little creature, but not so much their creators. 5 Pebbles is the kind of being who is not fond of a little creature, but is fond of their creators. That's the juxtaposition there. That's why Looks to the Moon is, it's like, willing to explain so much stuff to us, who, in world, probably only half understands what they're even talking about. I mean, not even in world. But without the context, again, this is one of the things Downpour is extremely good at, familiarizing oneself with everything. There was a time I can quantifiably say that before Downpour was around, I did not understand like half of the things Looks to the Moon was saying, simply because like the lack of context for what they mean by stored memories or this place or that place, or just things mentioned passively. Looks to the Moon says a lot of stuff, but there isn't really a way to experience it. And so, when you're there in world, the average player is simply not going to understand half of what Looks to the Moon is saying. You know what? Before this Pearl plays, I'm going to say something I was actually wanting to say just before. I think the whole option of do you damage or kill Looks to the Moon, or do you leave her be, is excellent game design. Because, as I said before, one thing that Rainworld does extremely well is translate the mind of the player into the mind of a little beast. Oh, everything in the ecosystem's scary. I don't want to have to do with anything. I'm not going to touch half of these things because I don't think they're food. They could kill me instantly. Is this food? Is this food? Is this danger? And so, after the gauntlet of horror and pain that makes you into that mindset, it brings you to a being you don't understand. A being that was once a god, but is now brought down to the knees of nature. And nature is doing the judgment. The game is not giving this test to judge you. You are the one giving the judgment. You are the force of nature that is unaware of things powerful like gods. But now, since they're brought down to your level, you have the power to judge if they should continue to exist in a world defined not by technology or knowledge, but by nature. Looks to the Moon is at your whims, and she can only beg. Her constituents can only hope that you make the decision they want, but they do not get to tell you what to do, because you aren't someone at their... Like, you're not following... you don't understand what they're saying yet. You're just a little animal, and they're bringing you here, crossing their fingers that it will work out. But they are going to inevitably be at the whims of nature anyway. And the only way to accurately make the player into this kind of force of judgment is to remove them from the ability to understand. Because if we did understand what they were saying, if we could understand Looks to the Moon's words, or if the Overseer said things that made more sense, then we would judge from our civilization perspective. Oh, we shouldn't kill. Killing is bad. But in nature, that's not how it works. In nature, you are separated from all of these concepts of morality. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Oh my god. Woo! Awesome! I wonder, are there any, like, white pearls or anything that are musical pearls in base game? 2. We've gotten 2 pearls now. That's wonderful. How long has the stream gone on for? I mean, yeah, 5 pebbles pearl, but that was a downpour thing. Which, I mean, yeah, go I mean, it was bound to happen eventually that they were going to add music pearls, but I don't know if there are any base game ones. 5. I mean, yeah, the iterators always had emotions. The iterators have preferred pronouns. I don't know. I mean, yes. But they could have been made like that as well. Like, it's not out of the question that, you know, in order to personify them more, I mean, they made the puppets to personify them and allow them to communicate and all that. It could be that, you know, part of their design is the intended identity to be mapped onto them. Especially since, like, I don't think they can really change their puppets at all. But maybe there's some of them are different. They're like, why do we need this to apply to us? But they're not even around anymore. It was so horrible when Vanilla first came out, Monk couldn't read White Pearls as punishment for easy mode. It is really funny. It's really funny that they did that. Especially since, I think from the devs' perspective it was easy mode. I'm pretty sure Rainworld is one of those games that the devs actually genuinely didn't expect it to be as difficult as players were making it out to be. The first version of Rainworld, of base game, was like multiple times harder, I think, in a variety of ways. That just were absolute nonsense. And so, you know, from their perspective, lack of pearls was just apt punishment in their minds. But I think the reason also is because, like, the point of Rainworld is... This is another thing I only realized after Downpour. That, sure, we have the technological side, sure, we have the spiritual, cosmic side, but one side of Rainworld has always been staring us in the face the whole time, and it's about the nature itself. The lore is not front stage. You are a little animal in a little environment, and you're trying to survive. So, from their eyes, it probably wouldn't detract too much to get rid of the pearls in the Monk's campaign. But yeah, that's the third part of Rainworld's story. It's always been there and always will. In the end, nature will take everything over again, once this all crumbles down. And another civilization will form out of said nature. Eventually. Why are they all swimming down here? The third pillar of Rainworld, you might say. Are you referencing the thing I said earlier about naming future videos the first pillar, second pillar, third pillar? I think actually no one actually got what I meant by that. I meant that I was going to talk about Spinning Top, the Prince, and the Weaver, respectively, because those are in fact the 3 pillars that are in Daemon. But yeah, in a sense. I mean, in a sense, they all do. I mean, which one would represent which? The Weaver is the cosmic side. The Prince is the technological side, I guess. I mean, Spinning Top and the Prince are kind of interchangeably the nature and technological side, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, we've seen the Lizard Pit. It's pretty interesting. Again, it must be like where they put their main experiments in this testing facility that this place seems to be. less about being a little animal and more about accessing the world itself. I mean, those are interchangeable. You have to experience the world through something. Like, you can't just be nothing. That would make you on par with an Echo, and that would be a different game. But also, it's like, it's a very nice thing they chose for a player character. It's a little animal that's on the food chain, and so it's not different from other creatures like that. But a lot more of those creatures don't have hands. And they certainly don't have the ability to traverse so far. Like, slug cats are smart enough to be curious about pearl hunting if they are put in the position to do it. And also swift enough to actually, like, travel. There's a reason a lot of creatures don't get to 5 pebbles, and it's just because they don't really travel that much. Like, maybe scavengers could have the karma necessary to get into 5 pebbles, but they don't. Well, actually, that's a good question. I suppose they would just have to climb the underhang first, which is probably possible. I mean, you know what? Actually, I just thought about something. And I know I shouldn't necessarily. This is on the edge of things that are sensible to consider in terms of like what Downpour talks about. In this case, so many scavengers being on 5 Pebbles City, but not in 5 Pebbles himself for some reason. I don't know why. But I did just consider now that the bridge that goes from Chimney Canopy to 5 Pebbles might have just been more connected before. Like, that is something that could be the case. And if that was the case, creatures like scavengers totally would have used it all the time. I'm pretty sure there's only scavengers on the exterior when there are scavengers in the city, which is also part of those campaigns. Like, Artificer, and maybe Spearmaster? I don't actually know if there's any scavengers on there in Spearmaster. I don't remember. But either way, yeah, it could be like a more accessibility thing, like more bridges are less broken at the time. And scavengers would, like, going on top of an iterator is something scavengers totally would do, if they have the means to. And, like, I think Downpour's story suggests that the reason there aren't after a certain point is because they all got scared off by Artificer, but, like, it could also be that the structure was slowly collapsing in terms of how to get there, too. Like, that is just something that would be happening. Yeah, vaguely getting jumped by 5. You do know that Spearmaster has the absolute condition to befriend every scavenger, right? Infinite spear generator. The tribe, when it finds an animal that's inexplicably able to just produce spears out of its own body, infinitely. The absolute gold mine. That's not fun. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can play as you want. I do think it's kind of intended, though. Like, in this version of events, your scavengers are your absolute enemies, but in this version, you have the means to make them your friend, absolutely. And it's like, it's not like scavengers have a particular role. They're supposed to be interchangeably enemy or friend, depending on how you play. But, like, out of all of their campaigns, the one least able to be their friend is Artificer, and the one most able to be their friend is Spearmaster, simply by how their mechanics work. I do wonder how long those biological spearlets last for, though. Like, they look a bit flimsy. They're made of... I don't know. I mean, they're probably made of, like, some kind of metallic bone composite that's produced biologically, but, you know, artificially engineered. I mean, who's to stop creatures from getting up there? Especially flying ones. I think most of the creatures that they put there are the flying ones, which makes sense. And like jump lizards and whatnot, but those are always there. The orange lizards and jump lizards, cyan lizards, are the most likely to ever be able to reach that point. And like, again, they would if they could. Which is to say, they will in the event that... Yeah, they would if they could. Which entails that they probably are able to do that. Or at least were at some point. If you have enough creatures there already, then you have creatures that'll move in there to eat those creatures, and eventually you have an ecosystem. And if there's no civilization around to, you know, stop that happening, then what are you really going to do about it? What is the ancients' reason for karma gates? They probably, you know, it's some part of their culture. Like, the moment... I mean, I would say that, like, on one hand, they would have surely mapped out their culture's ideas on top of how the cycle works. Like, I am for one to say that the specific things that attach a creature to life aren't necessarily exactly what the Void cares about, but it's close enough. And from the moment they realize that the world around them cares about that, they were, you know, able to figure out how to make machines that analyze your state of mind to determine the karma level you have. And then they were like, well, only those worthy should get through places. So we will build the Karma Gate, the place that describes that only creatures of this type of state of mind will be able to get through. This will thus ensure that intelligent life is only found in some places. Which I think is basically the result. There is in fact nothing up here. Really? Huh. Okay. This beat goes hard. I mean, yeah, if they used karma-based locks everywhere, that's the kind of society they'd end up with. But maybe it would result in people that are like more cautious or meditative or something. I mean, you certainly don't want people like. You will result in a society of people that barely die ever. Not to mention, like, if you want to prevent losing karma, but, you know, innately have the ability to, you know, relive from your perspective, you will be eventually at some point seeing a lot less of less people dying from your perspective, because everyone knows what not to do at a certain point. There's probably a point where there's no stupid work accidents or anything, because everyone has actually already been through it personally. Not because, like, everyone has personal experience with some of these things. What? It's insane how Rainworld is literally just like parkour civilization. This is a deranged sentence, I think. They would care less about safety regulations, maybe, in a vague way, because people would, like, already know. But, I mean, again, it doesn't revert from everyone's perspective, and you're probably not, like, mandating everyone die to revert the day. So, like, if someone dies on the job, everyone else is still going to experience it, even if that guy cycles forward in time eventually in, like, a new life later. And I don't know what they would do. Maybe they would be mad at him for that, for whatever that is. But, like, they would have a reason to prevent death. Which is probably, in turn, why they want to build the Karma Gate so much. To ensure that have you died recently? No? Well, you're right to go through. Even though I'm sure that's not actually all that the karma system is about. The Karma Gates are like the parkour trials that go from noob to pro and from pro to master and so on. I mean, if they had, like, you know, the House of Braids or whatever, if places like that had a strict everyone of survivor karma policy, then you kind of would end up with that, sort of. Oh my goodness. There's white pearls in there, which is interesting. Please go through. What is going on here? Hello? Okay. The existence of Guardians? I mean, the Guardians were creations, at least likely creations, of the ancient society. Not the ones that built all this industrial stuff, but the ones in the ancient temples below the world that Five Pebbles is actually talking about when he says go to the ancient temples where they're dancing their rituals. And who even knows how the Guardians work if they're not of the same technology? They're probably machines in some way. I mean, no matter what they are purposed to keep guard of that place forever, and seemingly don't age. So, you know. Another telling thing that they're from that ancient civilization is because all of their glyphs are in a different language. The rot lizards sound like they're suffering a lot. They could be. I feel like their situation... I mean, they might be in a lot of pain simply on virtue of their body being, you know, disfigured and ruptured and things like that. But the way they operate is more like symbiosis. It's... Again, well, firstly, again, the rot isn't really an infection. It's not a physical thing that, you know, gets you and grows in you. It's not its own organism. It's your cells that are animated by the cycle in a way that makes them bigger than they should be. But the end result is sort of just two creatures on top of each other. Like, the lizard is doing lizard things, and the lizard brain is still roughly, you know, the same as it was before. But then the rot is just also kind of a part of it. And in turn, the rot will do its sort of thing of consuming and keeping itself alive, and will inevitably thus keep the lizard alive. Which means the rot will look for food, or at least feel for food, and then absorb it into the lizard body. Or alternatively, the lizard will look for food, and then eat it. Both of which result in the overall creature surviving. So it is kind of effectively a symbiosis of two creatures that are on top of each other. Oh yeah, and also... Silly to you that the rot lizards are weaker than the regular versions? I mean, I'm sure their bones don't work the same way anymore. Like... that kind of mutation is on the verge of the kind of mutation that just makes everything not work. So it is sensible that they're weaker in a sense. Similar in the case of Hunter Longlegs. I mean, the Hunter Longlegs was specifically that the hunter was dead while the rot happened. Now, I have a few quips about the Hunter Longlegs in particular. Because, for one, from what we know now, it seems like, you know, this is one of the things that Downpour couldn't have possibly predicted, but two things. One, the rot that the hunter produces is likely not the kind of rot that can get up and walk away. It's not... Sure, it's from an iterator tangentially, but the hunter itself is a small organism, and therefore the rot cells that it produces are small in tandem. But secondly so, at least unless it's not in the fringe. There would absolutely be a Hunter Longlegs in the fringe version of itself, like these lizards. But for that, I would say that the hunter itself would still be alive. The thing about the Hunter Longlegs is that the hunter itself was very explicitly dead during all that. But if the rot operate in the way I suggest, with them, like, they don't have organs, instead they're just brain matter that's karmically animated into living and having to continue to eat in order to sustain a cycle of growth that is, again, perpetuated by how its brain matter is malfunctioning and how it's being karmically animated to grow more of itself, sort of implies that rot can't actually die. Like, not of its own qualities, at least. In the regular... Whoops. Outside of the fringe, where the rot is, you know, functioning in tandem with material constraints, that's when the rot can die. It can run out of resources and cripple. But otherwise, it's sort of functionally immortal. In a way. Like, you can't actually kill a DLL. It'll just keep writhing forever. So, with that in mind, it could imply that something like the Hunter Longlegs or a rot lizard can't actually die either. and so effectively, it's thus forced into functioning like a symbiosis. I mean, yeah, the sound design goes extremely hard. Yeah. It isn't... So, I would say it's not comparable to zombies, though. It's like, the rot isn't necrotic. It's not reanimated. It doesn't become alive where something was dead. It was never dead in the first place. It's more alive than it should be. More animated than it has the natural biological capability to be. But it's not reanimating something that was dead before. And it's not the broken mind of something with a mind that is now shattered. It's the broken mind of something that is like, you know, a bunch of memories put into one place that don't make sense. Imagine how much more advanced the ancients would be if they figured out they could make electricity by boiling water and spinning a turbine. I'm sure they did find that one, but I'm sure it's not as powerful as void fluid fusion reactors, which is what they ended up using to build nigh all of this stuff. The cutscene art is especially good, yeah. I mean, it's always been, more or less. You don't think they ever figured out boiling water? My word. You know what? I'm being brought to similar places, so I'm just gonna do this time. I have heard that signal spires could contain pearls. Man, I don't know, I'm getting a weird feeling. Simultaneously, there's so many regions, but they're also so few. Or at least, some of them are in like clusters, so they have similar motifs, I suppose. What? What? Oh, does my does my ability make a ripple portal, so I have to patch it up real quick? Huh. When did you realize The Watcher wasn't going to be just another campaign? I mean, I don't know. I didn't really have expectations. I mean, not that I didn't expect anything good, but like, I don't think I didn't have a reference point. I didn't try predicting. I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't remember what I would have thought about it before that time. That's partly, that's partly why I'm streaming now. Because unless in certain specific conditions, my own playthroughs of games are like completely forgettable to me, as opposed to watching other people play through them. But I mean, I probably was on the, like, I would have heard a lot already, because I'm with some of the people who you might describe as, like, what, the lore heads you said earlier, someone said earlier. And so my frames of reference were along the lines of, oh, it's not gonna focus on the iterators this time around. It is going to focus on the more things related to the Void and the Echoes and things like that. And from that, I mean, I don't know exactly what I would have thought of from that. There is the aspect that, like, they did bring in modded regions, and I knew that for a while. But I had no idea how they would bring them in. No one knew. Until, Watcher comes around and says, we're traveling across space and time. And that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's a single campaign. I'm sure other people would have had predictions that it's not like the other campaigns. Because again, it's like, there's a reason Downpour had added 5 of them. Even if it took a really long time for them, and no mistake, there was a lot of stuff that they did and built for it. But it had 5 because it was all different ways to familiarize yourself with the world. Whereas this is a different journey entirely. I mean, yeah, they are correct in applying the tone and words that it says a journey like no other, because that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it would have been in base game, and that's what it still is for Downpour. And it has the niche for that. It has the perfect ability to occupy that. Pearl? Wait, where? Huh? Imagine if Watcher dropped alongside Monk and Hunter in its current state. I mean, it's sort of impossible. Like, that's the thing. Another thing, like, this isn't an in-game thing or player-related thing that Downpour did, but Downpour provided the opportunity for Watcher to exist. Because the reason they cancelled Nightcat is because they simply didn't have the know-how or budget or time to make all of this work. But the love and passion of the community brought that possibility into existence. Go back, you missed it. The blue dot? Isn't that just an egg bug egg? I can go back and check. This? Are you people talking about this thing? Yeah, exactly, Jerry the Voidworm. I wonder what scavengers call them. I mean, they probably, you know, like everyone else, they have their own language for everything. You know what, I wish the scavengers made sounds. I wish the scavengers had a range of sounds. Like a sound for every behavior they can have as a creature. To make them even more complex. Because I think the aspect of how scavengers don't make any sound at all is just a workaround for our inability to understand what they would be doing, or that it's too complex to add. Yeah, scavengers don't make sounds at all. Every sound a scavenger makes is a sound of them walking or using a tool. I actually recorded myself, like, trying to voice different sounds that they could make. It's like... I don't know if I could make the sounds right now. I don't even really have them on memory at the moment. Okay, actually, I think I can make those sounds. Would people like to hear? Okay, one person said yes. I suppose I'll do anyway. Oh. Fitting noise for dying. But yeah, that's what I would imagine scavengers to sound like. Bug sounds. I can see a little bugginess to them, I suppose. We have gotten... So, I mean, okay, we listened to one of the pearls that we got before, and we got dialogue out of it, which is awesome. However, since then, we have found 2 additional pearls, both of which are music. So... I mean, should I keep going? I mean, I should keep going. I should. What do you mean when you say that? Is there a void ocean in the sky? Well, there's... I don't know if I would say an ocean exactly, or if it's something we would really comprehend at all, but there does seem to be a counter void where stuff goes in from, like the dust falling from the sky and the appearance of new qualia into center space. Or the fringe, for that matter. The void and the counter void, I think, are things that exist in the fringe just as much as they exist in not the fringe. Yeah, it rains dust. Not just any dust, though. I would posit that the stuff in Outer Rim, the green stars, are the primal version of that dust. The star, it's like, they seem to shatter into dust, and that dust is made, like, the sand in that place is all green and sparkly. I think that's the stardust in question. That's the most raw form of it, until, presumably, it would get past Outer Rim, or not even through it, or however Outer Rim works. It would get to the rest of the world in a slow trickle that is barely perceptible. For by the time it would build up, it would coagulate and become all sorts of the things like soil and rock. Are the whales making those noises? Like that noise, yeah, but like the after sound of it. Where are you going? Stop it. No. No. Oh my god. The collider. Oh my god. At this point, I may as well just jump. The creature. Who is Jerry? What are we talking about? What? You have got... Huh? Hello? Okay. Awesome. Creature activity. I'm afraid this fish has tied itself in a knot. No. Where are you going? No. Don't do that. No. Don't. No. No. Stop it. No! The endless calamity. UCC, what do you mean by that? Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, there are pearls now, so it does make that my intro line in my first theory video that one unique feature is that there are no lore pearls. It does make that a bit funny, but it's still possible to have lore in a game like this without, you know, dialogue. Or at least not much dialogue. I mean, it had dialogue. But it didn't have, you know, just information about random this and that, which is what the pearls are for. But that kind of thing can still be extrapolated with environmental storytelling. It also, you know what else it is, though? It also is, a lot of people were accustomed to Downpour, and what Downpour did was have the player be paragons. Like, you have done this song and dance before. You're now playing as slugcats that are smart. Well, maybe like not like smart like a person, but smart in the sense that they have wisdom. They have either been to Pebble's Grounds before, or have been to other lands, or are otherwise skilled in a unique little way of their own. That thus makes them, you know, on par. It's like intentionally fitting. The player is bound to be more experienced by the time they play through another campaign, especially if it's in similar locations. So thus, you play as slugcats who, in-world, are more experienced. But people got used to that to the point where, you know, that's not... The Watcher is trying another hand at what base game did, and we all know the kinds of horrors that the Survivor was put through, inevitably. And I think people might have just sort of not... Like, they got used to not having to deal with that. Which is... It isn't that much of a bad thing. It's a bad thing in the sense that, you know, how Watcher was seemingly received before. Why did I... It's about how my train of thought has been destroyed. There was Gourmand who was just hungry. Yeah, but Gourmand was also experienced. Gourmand was the type of individual, you know, like, he is large and pudgy, and being well fed in a harsh ecosystem like this means a formidable opponent, you know? Like, how are they so able to be on top of the food chain like that? The Muncher. The ferocious Muncher, you might say. I mean, it's just the case that, again, as I said before, Rainworld is a game that follows very few typical game design philosophies, because it's trying something very different here. That's the thing. That's like the thing that a new player has to eventually learn, is that the game is fair. It's just that, as opposed to being fair to the player, like most games are, it's fair to every creature in an ecosystem, which inherently means it's going to be harsh to you, but also harsh to every other creature as well. Think of how many creatures you kill. You're actually not that bad off. But most people don't think like that. Most people think that they should be the paragon. They should be the player, the character, that's on top of everything and can kill most things in a room with a glance. Or, you know, at least a well-timed attack or what have you. At least, I mean, you know, there's multiple different kinds of games. Some games don't even have combat, but games that do have combat tend to use that formula. And Rainworld very intentionally does not. But it's also... There's also a limit as to how many times Rainworld can use that philosophy, which is why Downpour is the way it is. Like, they could... There was multiple ways to make Downpour. Either they extrapolate and make a bunch of stuff up and have a whole different story, which is only the kind of thing that will leave your players having a coherent sense of the world if you are the devs of the game in the first place, which is what Watcher's doing. But if you aren't, then you have to go off of what everyone else is doing, which is what we already know. Which means your game is now about familiarizing yourself with the existing world, which is a good niche, because a lot of people are otherwise left bewildered by what base game sort of describes, but otherwise doesn't really elaborate on. But if you do that, you don't have the niche of the game is fair to everything equally anymore, because the player is undoubtedly going to be better than them all because of the experience. So, you mix it up a little bit. You give the player character a reason why they would be more experienced, making them a paragon of some kind. Maybe not like the greatest kind. We're still not, you know, we're still not like an actual intelligent, civilized being. We're still a little animal, but we're a little animal with this or that with going on. We have this thing on our side, or we were born with an explosion, or we're fast and have biological advancements, attachments, etc., etc. So you can thus provide a different opportunity in the same area, which ultimately results in more to the story as opposed to just making stuff up. But since the Watcher is something the devs were originally planning, it has the freedom to go wherever it wants, because it will all be connected in the end. And the Watcher, thus, has the ability to be the unknowledgeable little animal again that has no idea what's going on and is being in peril. Because, as experienced as the player may be, the Watcher has never seen any of this stuff before. Saint is like the Paragon character. I mean, again, I argue they all are. Especially, like, Gourmand was a Paragon in the sense of, like, he's a respected figure of a Slugcat tribe. Artificer is a Paragon in the sense that it has a lot of, I don't know, explosions? It's made of sodium or something. It explodes when in water. I think that Slugcat is just, like, has a physiology that's composed of potassium or sodium or something. We have the Spearmaster, which is engineered, a unique character among a world. I mean, a lot of other things are engineered too, but this one has a particular purpose, and it's here to do a particular thing at an era where we get to see structures as they once were. The Rivulet is probably the most mysterious one, honestly, because, like, this weird-looking thing came with the knowledge of how to repair a system and with everything necessary to do it. It's, like, conveniently in place for what it's there to do, so it knows more than it lets on, but it's still a little animal. The Saint, however, is sort of going in the direction that Watcher does, without the same exact situation at play. The Saint is arguably less... the Saint is arguably more of... less of an animal than the Watcher is. It's like the Watcher is, you know, all alone, trying to just figuring out how to survive in the wild. The Saint is alone in the campaign, but if you ask me, I feel like it's likely that it's, like, on some kind of pilgrimage. Like, it has the ability to understand iterators, which means it probably knows about them already, which means it's probably been quite a few other places before enacting this cycle thing on itself. But has left it all behind to enact its grand journey. The grand journey of which is actually less fruitful than what the Watcher is doing, even though what the Watcher is doing isn't as intended on the Watcher's standard. And you know why? You know why? Because the Saint is another... You know what the Saint is? The Saint is another kind of prince-type character. It doesn't have the body for it. It doesn't have the ability to do all that much. But it's another character that has learned of the old ways of the civilization's attempt to break the cycle through one way or another, and has thus taken upon itself to try to be that force. Now for the Saint, that results in it being stuck forever in time and space or something. Well, not even really time and space, just like in the same place. But the Watcher, at least here, gets more power because it's on the Weaver's side. And you know what the Weaver is? The Weaver is the opposite to that. The Weaver is representing keeping the status quo of the cycle going. And of course the cosmic physics of things like that more, and so of course they bestow more power on the Watcher to do their bidding. Meanwhile, I mean, you also have the Prince. The Prince is also more powerful than the Saint's ability, even though it's trying it a different way. And it's not without reason why. It's like, you know, it formed of the cosmic rot, which allows it to have a body to do what it wants to do, which is imbued by the will of iterators in general, ? And thus it has everything in position to do what it wants to do. And you know what else? Actually, I'm realizing something. The Prince, the kind of personality that the Prince has, you know... Oh my god, there's a pearl right here. Wonderful. The kind of personality that the Prince has is perhaps more like the Saint than any depiction of the Saint. Like, you know how when people get to the second phase of the Saint, they're like, oh yeah, I get to kill everything. But the reason it's called the Saint is because, like, that's not what the Saint is... That's not what its perspective is. Its perspective is more like how the Prince is like, oh, I'm doing exactly the right thing. It's so wonderful that I get to be this and do this. The Saint's perspective is probably more along the lines of, do not fear, I can set you free. Do not resist. Because of course, It's not doing killing. It's doing ascending. What is going on here? It also, I mean, there's also the aspect that nothing really is resisting the Saint. Probably, from their perspective, nothing the Saint's doing is something they can see with their eyes, sort of similar to how the Watchers, like, seemingly everything the Watcher does is only visible to the Watcher. All of the creatures it might use that power against are creatures that are just living their lives as random animal, trying to, you know, either eat it or eat other things. So, they're not actually resisting ascending. I mean, they probably don't even know what ascension means. That's another thing, is like... there are people who have said that, you know, every creature wants to escape the cycle. And I can see why. Five Pebbles says you have the same problem as everyone else, from the micros and the substrata to me. Though what Five Pebbles doesn't say is necessarily, like, they all have the same problem, but that doesn't necessarily mean every creature, you know, can comprehend that they have that problem, or even begin to imagine what the solution would be, what they would want otherwise. Like, the average little animal is probably just, you know, going day to day, life to life, just surviving, things like that. I mean, maybe, but do they even know what's happening? Like, again, if Saint's whole things are only visible to Saint, then would anything even understand what's going on? Other than this, like, it looks like they just inexplicably die. I mean, yeah, probably. Well, yeah, I mean... Oh my god, there's another Preller here. Well, now I have two, which is not actually that good, because I can't... No! Well, okay, there's one there, I guess. I should end the stream soon. Oh my goodness, yeah, I should end the stream soon. No one's been around me to be like, alright, since it's just me, everyone else is not here to say that they're going at some point. So I'm just... If it were me, I would just keep up going for quite a lot longer. But I shouldn't, for the sake of everyone and myself. Hours ago you said it was going to be shorter. Yeah. Okay, well I'm here again. I'm gonna try to grab this pearl and then hibernate. Unfortunate. Say that again. No. I'm not gonna... Okay, should I stop here? Oh, no, hold on. Come on now. Okay, I'm dead. Okay, well. I will stop here. Someone hopefully maybe remind me to get the pearl that's in this region, but yeah. I will think more on ideas and thoughts and theories and things and all sorts of things. It'll be very good and I'm sure and hope. Have a wonderful